Hey, everybody, thank you so much for joining us for Beyond the Letter. I just wrapped up a show right now that I'm going to be bringing to you in the matter of moments. Today happens to be the Memorial Day in Israel. It happens from May 12th to the 13th, as we're shooting the week before, but this is when it is airing. And one of my closest friends, if not my closest friend that I know in Israel, is an Orthodox Jew named Aviad, and he is a great friend of mine. He has taken me all throughout Israel. He has taken me to every crevice of every archaeological site in Israel over the past 7 years, and he happens to be in the United States for the next 7 days. And so I invited him and asked him if he would come on the podcast, and he also happened to bring some friends that they're going to be sharing their story. These are individuals that live in Israel, work in Israel, have been in Israel since October 7th, and October 7th has now been the most documented act of war that has ever been seen through TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and on that day, Hamas had jumped over Gaza borders and put a full-on scale attack against Israel. And so many of us have seen on the news, but it was important for us in the nature and the heart of the show that we humanize conversations. And so as we hear from real life people who are living in these moments, I hope that you lean in, and the tempo of the show will be different because there are some parents who lost their son during this war. And so as you lean in to listen to these stories, I pray that your heart be open and that you lean into what's being shared today as we jump into the show. So without further ado, let's jump into this episode of Beyond the Letter. Hey, everybody, welcome to Beyond the Letter. A very special day because one of my good friends, Aviad, is here from Israel. I've known Aviad for maybe 6 years now, is when I first took a trip with Bishop Robert Stearns and Eagle's Wings, and you've been our guide as we go to the Holy Land for many years, and you do archaeology. You're pretty much the go-to guy in Israel, as we've seen, and so you happen to be coming to the States. You just got in today, and so we're honored and privileged that you brought some friends that we can kind of have a conversation, not just about Israel, but maybe more of the heart of Israel, real people that live on the other side. And I know even here in the States, we live in a very chaotic, media-driven, kind of political-driven space. And so hopefully we can somewhat have a unique, humanized conversation, because having you guys share is very rare right now in the context of America, and a lot of people are kind of fever pitched on what's going on, and we see what's happening at many of our colleges with young people. And so, man, I'm so honored that you would be here, Aviad, as we've spent many years together doing tours where you've led our groups, and but also as many of us have been praying for all of you as you've been experiencing a lot of chaos in your own land, and that you would come, and you're here in the States right now, maybe to share a little bit more of what's going on in your story. Is that what brought you out here?
Well, first of all, thank you, Pastor Adam. It's so good to be here in your beautiful home, in your community. I landed just a couple of hours ago after serving for nearly 7 months, since October 7th, when they called us as the first responders, which we'll talk a little bit more later in this podcast, on military reserves. And I was released May 1st, which is a few days ago. And once the opportunity came to come and to travel for a couple of days, it's a very, very busy trip, but really the importance of it is to carry the voice, to explain, to share with people what's going on currently in Israel, the challenges we have since October 7th and even before, to understand the general context.
Yeah.
And we're still going through it. This is not the day after. The war is still happening. It's still undetermined, still unfinalized. We still have right now, as we speak, today's May 5th, we're talking about Rafah, if we go in or not, to destroy Hamas completely, to finish this war. The north is still under attack, so we're still in the middle of all of this. And we're very honored to be here, to use this stage and to share with your community.
Thank you. And, one of the things that we do are well known in this podcast is, like I told you beforehand, is we have a saying here, which is you bring the questions, we'll bring the conversation. And it's really the concept that right now we feel like, at least in the States, I don't know how it is in Israel, but the idea of actually hearing truth or hearing someone else's truth and actually processing it for yourself is very rare nowadays. And so most media and other things want to tell you what to think, how to think. Everything kind of has its own angle and story. And so what we try to do in this podcast is allow people to share their story and allow people to listen and be able to really hear the heart and compassion of maybe someone's story. So before we jump into that, which we do, because we have some of your friends that are here that will introduce, could you give us just a moment and, like we talked about, and give individuals maybe just a brief survey landscape of understanding what is happening in Israel and what is happening in Palestine? Many people think that potentially Palestine is in a corner of the country. They don't understand there's many places of Palestine, and there's the West Bank, and so most Americans just kind of, whatever stream you fit into our politics, you turn on the news channel, whatever they say, you say, oh, then that's what we do, and you turn on this side, and oh, okay, that's what we think, and so help us, for someone that lives there, and I have been there, and I have been near your home village and town. But what is happening right now in Israel? We know what's started on October 7th. We know the little sound bites we get, whether it be through Iran or something else like that. But for you, maybe give some people some general context of your landscape.
Well, first of all, October 7th doesn't come in a void. It's not out of context. It's very important for us to understand, and I will dedicate a few minutes just to give the listeners, the viewers here, a little bit context of Israel in general, and just to do some order in this terminology. So Israel was founded in 1948. We're going to be celebrating our 76th anniversary next week. Independence Day, which is also attached to Memorial Day. This year is going to be a very special day, obviously, with the tragic events and so many more families joining the mourning circle. Israel was founded in a great challenge. 3 years after the Holocaust, immediately after our independence declaration, America recognized 12 minutes after Ben-Gurion proclaimed Israel's independence, but we were immediately attacked by 5 Arab countries. We pushed that attack, and we had borders which were not recognized, but were still challenged. 19 years later, we were attacked again by a coalition of 3 Arab neighboring countries, Egypt, Syria, and Jordan. And in this case, what happened was that Israel, in 6 days, we preempted the war. And just to comment, PLO was founded in 1964, 3 years before the 6-Day War. And this is an important comment because
what's PLO?
PLO is the Palestinian Liberation Organization. When the Palestinians say free Palestine, or from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, they don't refer to the West Bank, which I'll elaborate in a second, or just Gaza. They refer to all of the land of Israel, which they call Palestine. And it's pretty much the same name. In fact, Israel was called Palestine. It's the great Roman curse of Israel. After Adrian Caesar fought in the Second Revolt, 60 years after the temple was destroyed, he changed the name from Judea, we're Jews from Judea, to Palestina. And we carry that curse of Palestine since then, but with the geographical name of Israel. When they refer today to Palestine, they don't refer to the West Bank per se. They refer to all of the land of Israel, Tel Aviv, Netanya, Jaffa, Haifa, all of it. It's an important thing to understand, just to educate people to really understand the context. Now, in 1967, Israel pushed the Jordanians back to the River Jordan, to the international border, which no one, by the way, recognized their illegal occupation of the West Bank. The confusing terms is, when people say the West Bank, they immediately think of Gaza Strip, because Gaza is in the western part of Israel, and the West Bank is in the eastern part of Israel. Why do people get confused? Because the West Bank is a Jordanian perspective. They look at the geographical area west of the River Jordan as the West Bank of the River Jordan, but all of Israel is West Bank. So first of all, to understand, West Bank is the area that Jordan occupied until 1967. The Gaza Strip is an area that the Egyptians occupied until 1967. It's about 6.5 miles wide and about 35 miles long. It's a strip along the coast, beautiful area, by the way, with a different leadership and different mentality. It could be the Riviera of that area, but unfortunately, that's not the case. And since 1967, you have Palestinians living in Judea and Samaria, not as part of Israel, and Palestinians living in Gaza. At the same time, you have close to 2 million Arabs, Christians, and Muslims living in Israel as equal Israeli citizens. Therefore, we have to see the distinction between Palestinians living in the West Bank, Judea and Samaria, and Gaza. That's just in general, to give general context. So when someone says free Palestine, what does he mean by that? He means free Palestine from the Jews, which means Jews should not be in Palestine. Now, when you talk to biblical followers, you look at the Bible says that this land was given to the Jewish people. Jerusalem is mentioned 669 times in the Bible. It's the land which was promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Abrahamic blessing, I will bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you. And when we came back to the land after 2,000 years of forced exile, after the Holocaust, and today's Holocaust Memorial Day when we were recording this podcast, after the greatest tragedy in human history, 6 million Jews were murdered in Europe in the Holocaust by the Nazis in 6 years of war. After that, 3 years later, Ben-Gurion proclaimed Israel's independence, and we had our sovereignty back after 2,000 years. And we've been fighting ever since. And my father was born in 47. He was fighting in the Yom Kippur War, in the 67 War. Every generation had its wars. We thought that wars are part of the past. We thought that our generation wouldn't have to fight, but we discovered otherwise.
Wow. And so, as people try to understand Palestine, there are parts of even Jerusalem that have Palestinian inhabitants, right, and individuals.
So to explain, if we sort of zoom into Jerusalem, the eastern part of Jerusalem was part of the West Bank occupied by Jordan. In fact, the old city, the Western Wall, all of it was part of the Jordanian occupation, which was, of course, illegal and not recognized by no one for these 19 years. Israel annexed East Jerusalem to unite Jerusalem as one. Jerusalem is our capital, the only capital that also served as the capital 3,000 years ago when David declared it as the capital. Israel did not annex the West Bank and Gaza because of the demography, because if you annex the democracy, you have to give the rights, voting rights to, in this case, about 1.8 million Palestinians, and by that, change the balance of the demography. So therefore, Israel did not annex the West Bank or Gaza, and that's why it's still undetermined. In the West Bank, Judea and Samaria, there's the Palestinian Authority. In Gaza, it's the Hamas terrorist organization, which are the leaders right now there. Israel disengaged unilaterally from Gaza Strip in 2005, in August 2005. A year later, Hamas took over, overthrew the Palestinian Authority. They literally threw people from roofs of houses, dragged them in the streets, and ever since, Hamas is controlling the Gaza Strip. That's why people have to understand October 7th did not come in a void. Everybody in Israel was under the impression that Hamas is deterred. Israel invested about 6 billion shekels. It's about close to $1.5 billion in a big barrier along the border between Israel and Gaza. And we were almost convinced, I would say we, because the unimaginable happened on October 7th. That we're going to go there and hear an incredible story of a family that lost their son on October 7th. The unimaginable happened, meaning it wasn't part of what we even imagined that could happen in that scenario, or we didn't want to believe it's going to happen.
Yeah.
That's the day Israel changed. It's the day that Israel had what's called a near-death experience as a society, because the scale of the tragedy was unparalleled since Israel's creation. It was the largest Jewish tragedy since the Holocaust, what happened on October 7th.
Yeah. And in, one last clarity for people, because I'm thinking through as many people that sit before they hear the story, they're going to need they want to process through some of the aspects of this story, so that I want people to be able to have clarity and now hearing stories of what happened, of what's going on, and so for people to understand, I've been to Israel many times, and I have seen from what people have to recognize in our state, in the United States, it's almost as if you had Native American territories, and then you had American territories, and so people don't always conceptualize. That's basically, for a lot of ways, it's not the perfect explanation, but you have aspects of Native American territories where most of us in America, especially in the West, you and I can go on the road right now and drive for 15 minutes, and we're gonna come to Cherokee land, Navajo land, and you and I would not have access to drive in it without permission. It's the United States, but the Native Americans possess that land, and that's theirs, and that was part of contractual agreements with the United States. Yeah. But what I try to explain to people is, Imagine you have the Navajo Native Americans and you have the Pawnee Native Americans and you have the Cherokee Native Americans. Well, tomorrow, the Cherokee Indians decide that they're going to attack a city that's next to them of Americans. The Navajos didn't, the Pawnees didn't, the Cherokees did. And so what's going to happen is more than likely the American government is going to come in towards the Cherokees and start getting more stringent upon how they contain that area, because now for the next 4 months, there's a person after a person every couple weeks who's coming in and harming an American citizen. And so what I try to explain to people is put yourself in that situation in American authority, because a lot of times it's easy for us to cast stones when we're not in a country and it's not in our shoes, but we actually have somewhat of a system. Many people have said for many years that Native Americans aren't treated well by the American government. So there are conversations that exist in our context all the time. We just ignore it all the time because it's in our own backyard. And that's commonly how people are.
It's a great example with a profound difference, Adam.
Yes.
Now, there's the difference.
And I know there is a big difference, so I wanted you to clarify.
No, I'm happy you brought
Yeah.
that example, because in people's mindset in America, they say the Native Americans, they were here.
Yes.
The white American came from Europe, and since then they have this very sensitive relationship. But the difference is the following: we are the Native Americans.
Yeah, right.
We are the natives of the people of the place. We are the Judeans. We are the Jews coming back to Judea. And the world is trying to explain that we are the colonialist white European people that came. And by the way, Jews came not just from Europe, from all over. We have Arabian Jews, right? They came from Yemen, came from Iraq, they came from Syria and Egypt. We came back to the land. And I once spoke with a very dear friend, Dan Cathy from Atlanta. And we were standing on the shores of Israel, and I explained to him that if you were standing there in the 1940s, you would see an incredible scene of ships coming with immigrants, Holocaust survivors that are coming back to the land. And Dan made an interesting comment. He said, Aviad is just like the Mayflower, of the people coming, crossing the Atlantic Ocean and arriving and starting a new place. I said, with a profound difference. The difference is the people coming on the Mayflower were people that came from Europe with zero historical connection to the land of America. The Jews that came back to Israel were the indigenous people that left the land 2,000 years ago in the forced exile and came back to the land, to the roots, to the place that they came. And I just want to add another story, because we just finished Passover, and Passover, is the holiday where we commemorate the Exodus of Egypt, which is very centered in our narrative as the Jewish people. 1949, when the state of Israel was a year old, Ben Gurion visited Washington, the White House, and President Truman asked him, what is your big secret? How did you, like the legend of the Phoenix, after 2,000 years of exile, being detached from the land, after the Holocaust, how were you able to create this land? And Ben Gurion gave him this incredible story. He told him, Mr. President, if you ask any American kid today in the age of 8, 10, 12 about the Mayflower, most kids wouldn't know what you're talking about, let alone the details of the journey. What was the name of the captain? How long was the journey? What kind of food they ate on the way? What was their destination? Ask any Jewish kid around the world in the age of 6, 8, 10, 12 about the biblical Exodus, and then tell you exactly the details of how long was the journey, what was the name of the leader, what kind of food they ate on the way, and where were they heading to. This is the big difference. We are the indigenous people that came back home, and we're fighting for this home. And this is the reason you see the spirit. On October 7th, and I made this comparison because I myself was called in. We're sitting here with parents that lost their son on October 7th, which was fighting in Erez Junction. They'll tell their story shortly. Yeah. But the incredible motivation to volunteer to fight, we're fighting for our home. We're not fighting in a foreign country to execute some kind of policy. We're doing something to defend our home. And you can see the comparison. When Putin was still fighting in Ukraine, it took him a year to recruit 60,000 reserve soldiers in Russia. And he had to pull them out of their houses to force them into the army. When October 7 hit, 300,000 Israelis were called in, and 350,000 showed up. People left their journey, traveling in the Himalayas, in South America and Bolivia, got the first flight they can, and the following day were in Israel. So we're fighting for our home. It's a long line from biblical Exodus to the Roman Empire to coming back to our land, to the Holocaust. We know what we're fighting for. We're fighting the most justified war against unbelievable, unprecedented atrocities. Obviously, when we do that during the fighting, We do whatever we can to avoid civilian casualties. But when you're fighting in such an impossible situation, in an area that has 2.2 million civilians, and Hamas is doing a cynical use of shooting from hospitals, from schools. I have friends that were in the hospitals in Shifa, clearing it. I mean, they're hiding weapons in incubators. They were hiding weapons in the X-ray room. It's unbelievable. And even though we broadcast it outside, the facts, still people deny it. It doesn't change their mindset. I was saying before when we had the small discussion that October 7th is the most documented event in modern history and still the most denied.
Yeah.
Which is unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, no, I think that gives us a lot of context of what's going on and where we're at. And maybe about a week and a half ago, it's just so hard for us to put in our context wherever anyone stands. But as you sent me a video from the roof of your home of all of the Iranian missiles coming over the roof of your home.
Yeah.
And to me and us on our side, it seems like a movie. We live in the context, but it's not. It's not a movie
guys,
for you.
It's a movie. For us, it's a reality.
Your real life.
Yeah, it's real life, and it impacts the life. It changes families. It's really unbelievable.
And it's heartbreaking today that on any side of a coin, we cannot humanize a context or a conversation. And as long as it feels distance, then I don't need to have understanding. I don't need to have empathy, and I can throw. And my heart breaks when I see something like you, because I'm thinking, this is a friend who I know. This is a friend who I've almost seen annually for the past 7 years, and there are missiles flying over your head, and every single person at your border neighboring country would just love to have an opportunity to get in that game, or to, many people. And if it's not the country and the government, there are definitely people there that would love to get in that game, but the desire and resiliency to be understood, or to still want to share your story, does inspire me, because I have seen you for so many years, and I've been able to, a couple months ago I had coffee with Gabby, and it's just hearing the stories of what's going on, and the resiliency of wanting to share that story is really quite incredible. When I think maybe from your guys' side, to me, if I was on your guys' side, I'd be like, I'm not going to explain myself anymore, because you see what's going on in our universities and stuff like that. And I think before we jump in the story, when you see those things, do you think it's because a young person may lack understanding? Do you think does what happens contextually in America impact you guys in any way?
Well, it's just sad to see the lack of understanding, and I would say the ignorance, because if you sit with people and explain to them and you show them the real story, I have no doubt they'll understand. An intelligent person that uses his intelligence tools to analyze and to look at a situation will definitely understand what's going on. But sometimes you don't let the facts confuse you. You have your predetermined mindset about a certain area, you have your narrative, and that you go with it, and you don't let the facts confuse you. You mentioned it, for you guys, it's like a movie, and this is the reason we have here an incredible story that we would like to share. That evening when I sent you the video, we were surrounded by a fire circle of Iran pulling the strings. So we can sit here and talk for hours about the big story and the context of Iran and Syria and Lebanon, Hezbollah, and the war in the north, in Gaza, and talk about the numbers and talk about the atrocities. But I think that nothing really hits home until you meet people that can tell you from first-hand testimony that something that changed their life and impacted them.
Yeah. And,
the heroism of their son, fighting on October 7th, saving an entire kibbutz, and actually not just their kibbutz, 2 other kibbutzim. So I think that motivates us to come, to fly thousands of miles. It's not an easy trip. I'm here for a week. They came out here also for a week, because they realize the importance of coming, sharing the story. I wouldn't say to educate, but really to share, to explain the world where we stand, because despite everything, we're still getting a cold shoulder from the world. We're still being judged by the world, literally, and the world is trying to determine what Israel can or cannot do, which is crazy. We're still fighting for our lives, and people are telling us what to do and how to do it. Israel didn't have anybody to come for us during the Holocaust. even the Americans, our great allies, didn't bomb the camps in Auschwitz. And we realized after the Holocaust that if need be, we will fight for ourselves. Thank God we have the greatest friend in the world, America, but America needs to understand where Israel's standing. And really, when it goes down to it, it's not just a movie. It's real people. It's a story.
Yeah.
So I'm so happy that the name family came.
Yeah. Would you introduce your friends to share their story? And could you first explain what a kibbutz is? Because that's probably going to be mentioned a lot, and a lot of people aren't going to know what a kibbutz is.
So I will let them speak maybe about the kibbutz.
Okay, let them explain what it is. Okay,
I think
fantastic.
maybe your English better to explain what is English. What is
introduce yourself and then tell the story, and then I'll elaborate.
My name is Asher. With me, my wife Orna, and we are parents of our brave son Amir. Amir lost his life on that morning of October 7 in Kibbutz Erez. We are living in a kibbutz is a small community. It's our kibbutz is like 500-600 people all together, and all our 3 children are living with us in the kibbutz. They have their own families, of course. They are already our biggest daughter is 33. We have another son, 30, and Amir was the youngest one. He's 27. And Erez, the name of that community, the kibbutz, is called Kibbutz Erez, and is located like 800 meters in miles. It's less than half a mile from the border, the fence of the Gaza Strip, very close to the Erez crossing, Erez junction. On that morning, 6:30 in the morning, we heard the red alert siren. The red alert siren in our area means that another missile attack on our area. Unfortunately, it was normal for us. We are like 3-4 times a year at least getting those missile attacks. And it's became for us like this is normal. We have in each of our house we have a safe room, and the only thing that we have to do is to wake up or to run to that safe room, close the door. Most of the time, it's not helping us because we are so close to the border. It's like take like 10 seconds from the time that we're hearing the siren until the missile is landing, and but we're used to it. On October 7 in the morning, it was different, and the way it was different is because with the noise of those missiles, which is very loud, we heard also gunshots, automatic gunshots, which is unusual in our area. And Amir, with his wife in their home, heard it too. And he, in the first second, he thought, I will stay in bed. But immediately when he heard those gunshots, he understood that this time is not normal. He immediately called the head of the emergency team of the kibbutz, told him what he's hearing. That guy told him that he is not in the kibbutz, but he will pass it over. And half a minute after it, they have a WhatsApp group that all those emergency team members are talking to each other, and they decide that they are jumping out of the bed and running to the fence to see what's happening outside. Amir took his his wife, pregnant wife, and their dog, locked them in the safe room, and ran out of the home straight to the observation point that we have in the kibbutz to see what's happening outside. He saw he have a very good view to the Erez junction, to the Erez crossing, and he with his friend Danny, they understand that something unusual is happening in that place. They immediately make a connection to the IDF, room, emergency room, and they got the answer that they know that there is something happening over there, and they don't have any soldier to send over to Erez because they have other incidents all over the border with the Gaza Strip, and they have to deal with it by themselves. For you guys to understand is the emergency team are civilians. They are a member of the kibbutz, which normally have normal jobs. Amir was a student, learned chemical engineering, work as a student, a job in Intel, normal life, a family, a pregnant wife. But in those moments that something happened, he took his gear, his vest, his gun, and he changed to be he's not a soldier but a first responder. Okay, that's the aim until the army, the IDF, should come and take over them. When they heard that there is no soldier that should come to help them, they understand that they are on their own, and they have to. They have, like, as I said, 600 people in back of them, and they have to defend their home. They have to defend the brothers, the children, the parents. They saw that two white Toyota pickups coming from the Erez junction towards the dirt roads to Kibbutz Erez, and they waited until they came very close to the fence, and the emergency SWAT team opened fire on them. On those two Toyota pickups, and was also motorcycles and a lot of between 40 to 50 terrorists with heavy weapons, with RPGs, with grenades, missiles. So when they attacked them, they stopped their car and tried to break the fence and the gate of the kibbutz. Two of the emergency SWAT team of the Kibbutz Erez was very near to our gate, and they start to fight with them because most of the battle was near the gate. Now, because they tried to break the gate and to get to the neighborhood. After like 10 minutes, they ran out of bullets because it wasn't supposed to be like this, and one of them was severely injured. They throw grenades on them, and he was severely injured, and they call over the radio for help. They said, if you guys are not getting to our point immediately, they will break the gate and they will be in. So what Samir and Danny done, like the other guys, they left the point that they have been in and start to jump from point to point to be closer to that fence and to help their friend. They understand that if they won't take the guy Yuri from that point, he will die there. So Amir got very fast to that point. And just in the moment that he jumped to get Yuri out of the on the point that he was there, he got shot. He got one bullet in his between the. They have like vests that they are wearing, but he got shot from the side of and he fall down. His friends pull him to the closest house that was there. Try to work on him, try to save his life, but they didn't succeed. It was very fast, and on all of that time, the other guys are continue fighting with the terrorists. Like a few minutes after it, his friend Danny was got shot as well in the neck. He got one bullet which go from one side to the other. Thanks God he's okay now, but he was severely injured as well. With their bravery, we know that they save us. They save all of us. We understand. We understand now what those terrorists want. They want to come to kill, to murder children. They want to slaughter. That's the only aim that they came from. They didn't care about anything. The only thing that they have had in their mind is to kill the community. And now we know that from the plans that we found on them, that they were supposed to finish with our community, with Erez, and then to move over to the next kibbutz, which is like located 2 kilometers, a kilometer, and like 1 mile from us, to the next one to kill that community as well, and then another mile to Burhail, which is another community, and by that fight over there was saved those 3 communities. The bravery of those guys is amazing.
9 of them. 9.
Yeah,
Just 9.
just 9 of them. Yeah.
Oh wow. So nine of them held back 50.
50,
Yeah.
and what they done. The fight over there was for like 3.5 hours, almost
Wow.
4 hours. Amir got killed after an hour and a half, something like this. They, although the situation, most of them ran out of the bullets. They asked for the emergency SWAT team from Kibbutz Erez, the other, to come over to help. So they sent few of their guys with more ammunition to help us, and they with a lot of courage. They one of them had at home a drone. He took the drone out, flew it over, and they start to see where the terrorists are, and try to shoot at them with the help of the drone. Amazing thing, and you just have to remember they are just the emergency team. They're not supposed to be in a fight like this, but all of them are soldiers. Amir was a officer in his reserve. That's what he was doing. He was an officer. He was with the bomb squad of the IDF. He was a professional. He was dedicated to what he's doing, and he died as a hero.
Yeah. I'm sorry for your loss. I'm sorry to
Thank
hear
you.
that. And, most of us somewhat, there are those in the States that can imagine from world wars ago, but to it be so fresh for many of you guys, and how you're sharing your story of your son and your family, of what they've encountered. And for people to get an understanding, as many people, you said, Aviad, that a lot of it was heavily recorded. Was there multiple attacks that were happening in different areas that day? Because I know some people also saw that there was like a music festival that things happened to. Is all of that stuff happening at that point the same day?
All of this stuff happened on the same day, on the same time. They started on October 7 at 6:30 in the morning. They attacked a lot of kibbutzim on the Gaza Strip. We lost our son, which is very bad for us, and very hurtful. But we lost also friends and children that learn without children in school. They are now kidnapped in Gaza, and nobody knows nothing about them. They murdered friends of mine. They killed their children and burned them. Some kids that I know since they're baby, they burned them alive, and they did horrible things that even you can't imagine. You can't. In the beginning, we say they like animal, but they're not animals. Animals don't do these things. They like monsters or whatever. The place that they try to enter the kibbutz is near our newest neighborhood, which were young families living. A lot of small kids in the house that they try to revive my son. There was a family with 2 kids. By the time they were in the house, the terrorists shoot two RPGs into the house. Thank God nobody else got injured, but they came to kill. And we gave work to people from Gaza, give them work, and we believe that if they work and bring a salary home and feed their children, so they that's what people do. They want to go to work to grow their family, but they came into the kibbutzim and draw maps who lives, where is the weapon room, where is the security team lives. They know everything, and those just people who worked in the kibbutz, and we used to give them coffee, and we used to feed them, and give them a way to support the family. But they didn't want this. Now we know that. We believe that if we help them, and we have people in the kibbutz that take sick people that came to the Erez junction, drive them to hospitals, bring them home, take them in and out. And now we understand that all they want is to kill us. They don't see the difference between fighting with a soldier, or they didn't just came in and said, okay, we just shoot the people and kill them. They did horrible things. They rape girls, and they cut their parts, and whatever stories that it's really hard even to say that, because it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Adam, we are here nearly 7 months after the war began, and we're still fighting. People have to understand the context, why we're still fighting. Israel is getting criticism. Why are we fighting? Why are we going to Rafah? If we don't destroy completely the terrorists in Gaza, we can't live where we live. They live in Kibbutz Erez. Their son was a hero.
Yeah.
Together with 9 others, saved hundreds of people. 3 kibbutzim, probably over 1,500 people, were saved thanks to their bravery. These are heroes in our lifetime. We're not movie heroes. People which are regular people with a family, but when they were called to fight, they realized that's what they need to do.
Yeah.
You asked before if what's happened in Erez happened is in the same time, in 6:30 in the morning, they break the fence in 25 places in the same time. Okay, what's happened in Erez crossing happened in another 25 places along the fence of the Gaza Strip. They get to most of the kibbutzim, not just kibbutzim, also cities like Sderot, like Ofakim. They get to those cities. We have a big festival, the Nova Festival over there, with 6,000 young people that came just to dance and to have fun, and died over there just because they were there. That's the only reason. So they attacked. It was well organized. Now, today we know it was well organized from the other side, and they knew what they want to do. They want, and the instruction that they got is to kill, rape, slaughter, and kidnap everywhere in all those communities. Unfortunately, in our family, Amir's wife, her cousin got murdered as well in the beach in Kibbutz Zikim. Our son-in-law, his uncle is kidnapped. He is living in Sderot, not in Erez, in Sderot. They kidnapped him from there. We don't know if he's alive or not until now. So, and we know a lot of other people around us, as Orna said before, which were our children friends from the high school and then from the kindergarten, and it was a terrible morning. Now we know that it was organized for years, probably. Most of the people like us, that we believed that if normal people have enough money to feed their families, okay, and this is the situation. So it means, although we are not in Gaza Strip, you must understand that there is no even one Israeli in the Gaza Strip. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's not our responsible to give them food, for example. Okay, they can in that area, if they choose, they can make it like I don't know, the French Riviera of the Middle East. Yeah. Okay, they have they have a beautiful sea over there. They have all the reasons to do it. They choose to take all the support that they got from the U.S., from Europe, and not to invest it in building their homes. They invest it to build tunnels, and those tunnels were supposed to attack us, and that's all they care. And now we understand that all those people that came to Israel to work, you know, sorry, you know, the law in Israel, if the Gazan coming to work in Israel, you must pay them the same amount of money that you are paying an Israeli. Okay, this is the law. We are not abusing them. We just give them, and we believe that if we will give them money, and they will go back and can feed they get paid in Israel like 15 times more than what they gave, 15 times more than what they get paid in Gaza Strip. Yep. Okay, so and Israel opened the borders just before the October 7th. They increased the amount of the workers that coming out every month more and more and more, and then sorry.
Could you give some clarity on that part, because there's some levels of Palestine that has kind of open coexistence, and then there's other parts that have more of a stringent security protocol. People don't know that, and so what you're just saying though is before October 7th, because basically it applies similar, and you could correct if I'm like similar how you apply for a visa. If someone, our neighboring countries, Mexico, tens of thousands of Mexicans come across the border every day to work in the United States, and then they go back into Mexico, and so the communities of those whether it be Bethlehem or whatever else, smaller than where they're coming from Mexico, but some places have that level of security, some places don't. And so when you're saying they increased, in other words, they're saying instead of 10,000, they're now letting 30,000 come. And it's to work. It's to make a living. It's to participate in
Absolutely.
the Israeli economic system and things like that, correct?
So just to clarify, the Arab Israelis living in Israel are equal Israeli citizens. They work wherever they want. They travel wherever they want. They get social security, medical insurance, everything. The Palestinians living in the West Bank and Judea and Samaria can either work in the communities if they have security clearance. And I personally, my house was built by a Palestinian constructor, which was a very good friend. I still keep in touch with him. After October 7th, we have discussions about everything. And of course, their economy is now completely on hold because no one is letting any Palestinian come and work in Israel. And we have in Gaza, Israel opened tens of thousands of permits for humanitarian aid, as Orna was mentioning, to come to Israel for, hospitals or whatever medical treatment they needed. And you had people from the kibbutzim which were driving them, volunteering to drive the Gazans to the hospital and back out of good, the good Samaritan, just to be good and to help our neighbors. And at the same time, as Asha was mentioning, increasing and multiplying the permits of Gazans to come to work in Israel. Because imagine a Gazan that can come and work in Israel 10 days makes 15 times per day what he makes in Gaza. So for them, it was an incredible thing. At the same time, the regime controlling Gaza is a terrorist regime, Hamas, which called for the annihilation of the state of Israel. We learned in our history in Israel, and today is the Holocaust Memorial Day, if someone calls for your annihilation, you better believe that he plans to do it. And as soon as he has the opportunity, he will do it. If it was Hitler, if it's Iran, if it's Hamas. The only reason they didn't do it until October 7th is they weren't ready, they weren't prepared. And as soon as they decide to attack on October 7th, on Shabbat, a holiday of Sukkot, of Tabernacles, the last day of Tabernacles, when Israel didn't anticipate that, it wasn't on our radar, we didn't imagine the unimaginable happened. And in 25 places, 3,000 terrorists came in, broke the fence, attacked kibbutzim, communities, cities. The Nova Festival, 360 boys and girls were murdered, and dozens more were kidnapped into Gaza. Some of them are not alive, some of them are. We're still waiting for their return. Today we still have 132 Israeli hostages in Gaza. It was 133, but they announced one yesterday that they recognized him, and the funeral was yesterday. We don't know out of which 132 who is dead and who is alive. They don't give us any information. The Red Cross is not allowed to visit them. This is an impossible situation, and as we're recording this podcast, it's still undergoing. It's still in the midst of the fighting. It's still undetermined, and we're still in the middle of this war.
Well, do you want to? I know you're limited with time. Do you want to have Gabby and Shlomo come and share?
I want to.
Yes.
I want to tell you about my family since October 7.
Yeah, please.
We have 3 kids. One of them is Amir. They all married. Amir got killed, and his wife was pregnant in her 3rd month, just in the beginning. They chose a name for their son together. We didn't know the name till the Brit. Brit is enough?
Yeah.
Okay. And then we found out that they call him Raphael, which is the healing angel. As like they know that we'll need him.
Wow.
One of the first things that Asher and me talked about is that we want broke, and we will be happy again. And it's a really hard work to do but we're not giving up because we still have children, we have grandchildren. since Amir got killed, we had one grandchild. Now he's 3 years old. 2 months ago, Emma born, and a month ago, Raphael was born, and we're waiting for our daughter to deliver in a month or 2. So, so we have a very big break, and we are broken and hurt and suffer. But from the other side, we have a lot of joy all together, and they go together all the time, all along. In 1 week, it will be our first personal Memorial Day, because we grew up in Israel, and Memorial Day in Israel is something that important to all of us. But this year, it will be our personal Memorial Day.
Wow.
To ourselves.
And Adam, all of this time, when new life is coming to the family, all of this time, they're not in the kibbutz.
Yeah.
They were evacuated from the kibbutz after, and they're living as refugees.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
we're living in the same house with our daughter, because that's what we found, in the same apartment. It's not normal to live with your kids in the same place. But till October 7, all 3 of our children lived in the kibbutz. It was great for us to be close to them and to the grandson. Now we don't know if they will come back to the kibbutz. We're waiting to see what will happen in Rafah, if they destroy the Hamas or not, because we don't believe. And we work in the kibbutz. We drive to the kibbutz every day. We work in the kibbutz factory, and it's still a war zone. So nobody promised us nothing. We don't know what will be. Now we're trying to keep our family together, and we hope that they will come back to live next to us. If not,
yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for sharing that in your story. Just to imagine how, like you said, so much pain and so much suffering, but on the other side, how God gives so much life at the same time through your grandchildren. And I appreciate you so much. Thank you for sharing that with us. Thank you. Absolutely. Such a joy to meet you both. And I know we have a few minutes left. Aviad said he wants to get out of here at 6:20, so that's 3 minutes. Keep them on, Aviad. Yeah, keep them on. Go ahead, take a seat.
We can leave at 6:30. It's fine. I mean,
okay.
It's
so you give it 15 more minutes. Yeah. We'll do. I asked Aviad if there was a hard stop, so I wanted to. I know you guys.
Yeah, it's fault.
He wants to make it to the guitar store to fix it. He wants to fix. Can you,
Can I just add on?
Yes. But grab the mic. Make sure you talk into it.
I just want to point out that Aviad was talking about refugees, how they're refugees from their home. In Israel today, there's over 80,000 refugees that haven't gone home yet, from the north, from the south. Over 80,000 families that are displaced. We talk about displacement in Gaza. What about the displacement in Israel? What about the people living in Israel that are being bombarded on a daily basis from the north and from the south? We are still at war. Yeah. It's been 7 months, but we are still very deep into the war. Yeah.
Aviad, may you answer and then introduce your 2 other friends. You mentioned you have had a Palestinian contractor who built your home, and you said you've talked ever since October 7th. Are those conversations amicable? Is there wrestle with each other? Maybe give people a context also about like. I wouldn't have brought it up unless you mentioned you still you've talked to him in October 7th. And this is someone in a, I don't know, he maybe not participated, but, we know that context. What is that? You don't have to go in much detail, but I think it's important people understand that they think this is worlds aside. They think there's big borders. It's not. You have each other's cell phone numbers.
Yeah. No, there's absolutely relationships there. After October 7th, he was very embarrassed, obviously, even to reach out. He mentioned to me he was embarrassed what his people have done. I have many, many Muslim friends also in the Gulf, in the UAE, Bahrain, other places. They all got, called and sent messages. There's so many people in the Muslim world which are not like that. And we know this. This is not Islam. This is not the face of Islam. This is not the face of people, of normal people. This is the face of monsters, of atrocities which were committed by people that lived among us, and we know it happened. At the same time, there are other people living, neighboring with us, and we need to look at the future. They're not going anywhere, we're not going anywhere. So we're trying to sort of maneuver and see, I'm not reevaluating my relationship with him because I still like him, I still trust him, I still think he's a great human being, Arab-Palestinian from Bethlehem, and but at the same time, the trust has been broken.
Yeah.
The trust has been broken between the people, and also between the people and the state, the people in the army. As the Naim family was mentioning, Orna and Asher, that usually the first responders are there for the first 20 minutes, half an hour. They say an hour, the army will come at the most. There are some kibbutzim in Oz, the army didn't come until 1 p.m., for example.
Wow.
And they took the entire population either hostage or killed them.
For Gaza, the army didn't show up till 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah. Wow.
So they're really unbelievable stories. And we're here, and part of the reason we made the effort to come all the way to Los Angeles, flying thousands of miles for a couple of days, is to hear these stories from personal, first-hand testimony, to see that this is real. This is a real suffering of the hostages, of the families that lost their kids, of the refugees which are displaced from their homes for 7 months. We came here. We have with us also Shlomo Zichel. Shlomo lives in a community in Gush Etzion, in Elazar, in my community. And he was also called into the reserves, serving in Judea and Samaria, the city of Hebron, biblical city of Hebron that Abraham purchased from a phone in the book of Genesis, and where Abraham, Isaac, and Sarah are buried, and where David ruled for the first 7.5 years. You have to understand, when people are listening to us, we're living in the biblical landscape and we're protecting it. And at the same time, we have Palestinians living either in Hebron or Bethlehem, which have many of them, not all of them, but many of them, an intention to come and to murder us. And this is why we had to put our guards up as first responders, as I was recruited on October 7th and serving continuously for 7 months. Shlomo was called in and served for nearly 5 months also in that area, and maybe he can tell us a little bit about his service. And we also have here with us Gabi Harrow, a dear friend. Gabi is a true hero, and his family speaks for, it's not spelled the same, but he's a true brother.
You're exaggerating, my friend.
But since October 7th started, he put all of his resources together with the foundation that he is the CEO of, and they went out and about to help everybody, if it's first responders, if it's families, if it's refugees, if it's the immediate needs that, Israel had to save lives. And he will talk more about that as well. And he's with us here today, so
that's
thank you for
great.
coming
That's
up.
great.
Adam and I met already a couple months ago. I was actually born in LA. My parents moved to Israel in '86. I won't give my whole history, but so I'm a LA boy in my heart now. I'm a true heart Israeli.
And that's called Aliyah, right? For
Aliyah.
people who don't know.
Aliyah means to rise up. So we say anybody coming to Israel is rising up in his life. He's
To ascend.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to run a little Mama's Pops organization in Gush Etzion. Gush Etzion has 22 communities, 26,000 residents, and we had a foundation raise funds, to build parks, libraries, synagogues, help build schools, music lessons, help youth, teens at risk. Raising funds for things. Good, in general, good things to help the community. And on October 8th, I had made a quick decision that I'm not going to fall into depression of what happened on October 7th. I wasn't called up. I don't know why I wasn't called up, but I wasn't called up for reserve. I called my officer like 30 times. He's like, I'll get back to you, and then he never got back to me. So I'm like, I made a decision that I have to do whatever I can to help as many people as I can.
Well,
and that's it. I channeled all my energies, all my resources, everything I have to bettering the life of whoever I can in Israel. And I'm just one out of hundreds of people that did the same thing. First thing was to speak to all the communities and find out what they're missing as far as equipment, first responder equipment. I mean, we were equipped, but I live in a community called Nukdim. It's in Gush Etzion. October 7th, we have 30 first responders. 20 of them were called up. Our community was left without anybody to protect it. And they took their equipment with them because This is their personal equipment. So we had to find out who left, how many are there, what's missing, what we need to get. As far as helmets, vests, whatever's needed, response vehicles. We had a community that was displaced from down south that came to the Gush. We had 100 families that left overnight. They came without anything. We had to we didn't have time to do laundry. I went out and bought sets of sheets and blankets and towels, shoes, clothes, food. We had to build a mobile school. There were rockets falling in Gush Etzion. Nobody's talking about the rockets that were falling by us. We had to put safe rooms next to schools. We have, the amount.
Which you didn't have before.
We didn't have before. We just had to go out, raise funds, and buy these mobile bomb shelters and put them down next to schools so kids can go back to schools. Parents weren't sending their kids to school because they didn't have a safe room.
Yeah.
They needed a school. We had 100 families, 300 kids. We needed to build them a school. So we built a mobile school and a mobile kindergarten within 3 days. Anything they needed. Soldiers up north started sending us messages. We don't have anything. Down south, we started buying equipment from around the world. It was just, it's amazing how 7 months it's a days. Like I really don't know how we got till today. And in the end, from going to raising $2 million a year, we wound up raising $15 million.
Well, the amazing thing about the Gush Etzion Foundation, and I knew it in the previous reincarnation, it was really like Gabi said, it was a local thing to help and do incredible things to develop Gush Etzion. But it became, with Gabi's vision, a foundation that helped people all across the country. First responders from other communities, refugees that came from all over, soldiers from different areas fighting all over. And now we're looking at doing a project which will create a healing center for post-trauma for Nova, people from the Nova Festival, and for soldiers. They can come also in our area in a beautiful space in the desert. So there's so much to be done. We're still in healing.
Yeah.
And, part of the thing that heals our soul, we have a lot of creativity, people which are putting music together, soldiers which are putting, as they're in Gaza, in a house, they're putting music together. Shlomo is a musician. He's with us here. He has some friends that when they were in Gaza, they were like writing music and putting incredible songs. He himself is an incredible musician, put some songs together. And I want to introduce you.
Yeah. Thanks, Shlomo.
Shlomo's
Yeah,
Hi.
man.
So I'm Shlomo.
Yeah.
Me and my team, we jumped at October 7th to Hebron. There was a serious fear that there will be a massacre there from the Hamas terrorists over there. There are a lot of Hamas terrorists in Hebron. And for the past 5 months, our main job was to prevent terror attacks on the Jewish civilians that lives in Hebron. It means almost every night, with cooperation with the Israeli intel to come and to arrest the terrorists before they come and try to murder the civilians. And this is what that was the main job we did there for the past 5 months. And I don't know, maybe a little something from my perspective, I don't know, from what I felt as a soldier. There is this parable about the human soul that tells a story about two wolves that fight inside the human soul. And while one wolf represents fear and seclusion and escape, and the other one represents faith and victory and power and friendship. And there's always the big question, which wolf wins? And the answer is the one that you feed.
Yeah.
And the bad wolf lurking for you, and in all sorts of points in through your service. It could be when you lose a friend. Could be, I don't know, in like hours of darkness and lack of hope. And the special thing is that each one finds the points of light that with them he feeds the good wolf. It could be thinking of his family back home. It can be thinking of his friends serving with him, and his will to bring them back home safe. Could be the thinking of the hostages, that our job is to bring them home as soon as we can. And maybe I'll sing you a song that really represent these kind of feelings. These, I don't know, these points of light and hope.
Well, it's you're gonna you sing it in Hebrew or in English?
Yeah, it's a Hebrew song.
Okay.
Called the Shivurei Lev.
Okay.
Broken Hearts.
That's great. So it's called Broken Hearts. Give us a little context then, since most of us don't speak
Yeah.
Hebrew or can listen to it. Give us a little bit about what the lyrics are about.
So the lyrics are about trying to find the strength in hours of darkness, in hours of hurt, and try to strengthen yourself and to tell yourself that I won't surrender. I will keep going, and it's ask for God to help and to be here with me, to help me succeed these tough times.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, yeah, please sing it for us. I'm gonna put this here. I'm gonna give you this right here.
מי יודע כל כאב, מי רופא לי שבורי לב, יוצר רוב החושך, עושה שלום ומלחמה, מי יושב על כיסא דין, מתכסה ברחמים, מוכר וסולח, מביט ויודע, ומי ירפא ליבי, אל מי אני מתגעגע, כמו ים שאין לו חוף, רק תגיד לי מי יחבק אותי ויבטיח שאני לא אכנע בסוף. מי היה הווה ויהיה, מי ממית ומחיה, פותח ידיים, מצמיח כנפיים, ומי ירפא ליבי, אל מי אני מתגעגע, כמו ים שאין לו חוף, רק תגיד לי מי יחבק אותי ויבטיח שאני לא אכנע בסוף. na 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 מי אל מי אני מתגעגע כמו ים שאין לו חוף רק תגיד לי מי יחבק אותי ויבטיח שאני לא אכנע בסוף Promise me that I won't disappear
Wow. What a beautiful voice. Man, you got a great voice, my friend.
Beautiful.
Every time he sings that song, it gets to me. I can't stop myself from crying. I don't know if we're concluding now, but I want to add something very important. We talk about how hard October 7th was, talking about the fact that today is the Holocaust Memorial Day. As a third descendant to, both my grandparents were survivors of Auschwitz. We're strong. We're strong people. The world needs to know that we're very strong. And we're not going to break. Doesn't matter how many times you try to knock us down, we're going to be here.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you can see on the video, but I'm wearing a pin. This is
You'll see right there. Yeah, you're right there.
All right,
Yeah.
right here. There's this pin symbolizes it's a flower. It's called the blood of the Maccabees. It's the only place that grows in the world is in Israel. It has these red dots on it. It kind of looks like blood drops.
Mm.
And what this symbolizes, we wear this pin or this flower on the Memorial Day in Israel to show historically we're here, we're bounded to the land, but we're going to rebuild, and we're going to rebuild strong, and we're going to grow just like the flowers grow every year. We're going to continue growing, and we're going to, out of all the atrocities that were discussed today, everything that Aviad brought up, everything that Naeem's brought up, we're going to continue to build and to grow and to flourish, because that's who we are.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for sharing that and saying that. It's when you and I got a coffee a few months ago, and we, had a real peel back the curtain conversation, right? Because when we're not shooting on camera, you really share what's going on and how things are that maybe just public setting. It's just for many of us on the American side, pastors, leaders, Christians who have been to Israel. And some may have maybe just treated it as a trip, a pilgrimage, just to see where Jesus walked and he lived and he did his ministry. There are also still the very real fact that the Jewish people are there, and the reason why we do want to go there, and the reason why we do go there is because of the beauty that the Jewish people have created in that land, and that the version of pilgrimage to see where Jesus was 100 years ago didn't exist what it is today. And what I try to share with people is it's because of the Jewish people that have made that land beautiful. It's the Jewish people who have come and cultivated that land and created a destination that people could go and not only experience the Holy Land, but also for many people, they could, of all places in the Middle East, you could actually go and have joy and have fun in so many areas like Tel Aviv and places that have so much life and vibrancy and joy. And also for many times, many of us seen has also had a tremendous coexistence between the Arab people, between the Palestinians, and between the Jewish people. And so we do all pray for all of you, and we continually pray for justice in the same way as well. And our hearts and prayers are with you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Adam. Just to say, we really pray for the healing of the region. Like you mentioned, the coexistence that is there, the healing of the society in Israel, which is still undergoing this crazy war. Who knows when it's going to end? But we are a very resilient society. The Jewish people has always been. And we have to make our effort, each and every one in his capacity. If it's Shlomo, if it's myself, if it's Gabi, if it's the incredible couple you met, the Naeem family. It's just we have to realize to stick to life. We love family. You know, I wish that everybody around us would be the same. And if, you know, Golda Meir used to say once, the war will end and peace will come to the region when the Arabs will love their children more than they hate us. So it's not correct to all of them, but unfortunately that's the mentality, that's the main thing, and we have a lot of healing to do. This is what we're doing. We're going to go back to Israel, and we're going to get very busy, both with being alert and protecting and being back on the first responders, but also working on big projects to help healing the society. And if you guys that want to be involved with it by any way, that will be
Yeah, before you
incredible.
guys leave, you'll send me the link to the foundation, and with these podcasts, we do what's called show notes. So people will be able to go in the show notes on YouTube and podcast, and I'm saying that now so people know you can go to the show notes, and if you want to partner and help with the foundation at all, that's helping with not only, as you said, the first aid services, but also on the back end, the humanitarian aspects, then Gabby will give us that link, and feel free, everyone. You could go on there if you'd like to support. It's there. The link is active. You'll be able to go and support.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you so much.
To make it more relatable, as you mentioned before, you know, when America went to war in Afghanistan, Iraq, and lost about 5,000 soldiers in Afghanistan, when they came back to America, there were about double the amount of soldiers committing suicide, and so many thousands with PTSD. So people have to have the awareness and the sensitivity. We already sense that this is going to be the next big challenge for the Israeli society, and we're going to put a big focus on that as well. So
we're already supporting it. We already have a lot of therapies, horse therapy, resilience centers. We're ready. We have an increase of 350% of people asking for help in the mental health, just in Gush Etzion, which is a small part of the country. So we have a lot of work cut out to us.
Well, thank you guys so much for being here.
Much.
I know you got to drive back to LA now, and you have a long week ahead of you guys, but it means the world to me that you would come out this way and share with us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you guys.
you.